Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're diving into a really famous short story by Guy de Maupassant, The Necklace. Now, on the surface, this is a story about a simple mistake and its devastating consequences. But it's so much more than that. It's a powerful look at how our own desires and the pressures of society can completely take control of our lives. So let's get into it and take a closer look at this tragic but super thought-provoking tale. So the story kicks off by introducing us to our main character, Mathilde Loisel. And this very first line, born as if through an error of destiny, tells you almost everything you need to know about her. What does that mean? Well, Mathilde truly believes she was meant for a life of luxury and wealth, but by some cosmic mistake, she was born into a simple clerk's family. You have to remember, in the France of that era, your birth often decided your fate, and Mathilde felt like fate had cheated her. Big time. So, where did all this unhappiness come from? Let's dig into the first part of the story to see just how deep her dissatisfaction really was. It was a core part of her entire existence. Mathilde's world was basically split right down the middle. On one side, you have her dreams. We're talking lavish dinners, gleaming silverware, and of course, beautiful dresses and jewels. But on the other side, that was her reality. Simple meals, shabby walls, and worn-out furniture. It was this huge, painful gap between her dreams and her actual life that just ate away at her every single day. And because of it, she couldn't find happiness in her simple life, or even with her kind, ordinary husband. Then one evening, Mathilde's husband, Monsieur Loisel, comes home just beaming with excitement. He's holding this big envelope in his hand, and he's convinced that whatever is inside is the one thing that will finally make his wife happy. You can just imagine the hope in his eyes, thinking today's the day she'll actually smile. So, what's in the envelope? It's an invitation to a grand party hosted by the Minister of Public Instruction. This is it. This is her ticket to the world of glamour and high society she's always dreamed of. But contrary to what her husband expected, instead of being happy, Mathilde gets even more upset and angry. So Mathilde gets her chance to go to the ball, but what's really fascinating is how this one single night of glamour is about to become the source of the biggest problem of her life. Let's see how the preparations for this fateful night begin. To go to the party, Mathilde absolutely has to have a new dress, and she demands 400 francs for it. Now, this number is a really big deal. Why? Because it turns out to be the exact amount her husband had saved up to buy a gun for a hunting trip with his friends. But for the sake of his wife's happiness, he sacrifices his own dream and just gives her all of his savings. But even after getting the new dress, Mathilde's anxiety isn't over. Now she's got a new problem. She says, "I'm so annoyed not to have a single jewel, nothing to put on. I'll look like a pauper." This really shows how her vanity and her deep-seated fear of looking poor among the wealthy women are just pushing her to want more and more. Her husband comes up with a solution for this problem. Just borrow some jewelry from your wealthy friend, Madame Forestier. So the next day, Mathilde goes over to her friend's house. After looking through a bunch of jewels, her eyes land on this absolutely stunning diamond necklace, and that's the one she borrows. And the night of the ball, well, it was everything Mathilde had ever dreamed of. She was the prettiest woman there, elegant, graceful, just beaming with joy. Everyone noticed her, everyone wanted to dance with her. For one night, and one night only, she lived the life she had always wanted. It was, for her, a total and complete victory. But you know what they say, what goes up must come down. Mathilde's triumph was incredibly short-lived, and it was followed by a mistake that would change everything forever. After the party, when they finally get home, Mathilde wants to see herself in the mirror one last time in all her glory. She takes off her wrap, and she lets out a scream. The necklace is gone. It's not around her neck. In that single, horrifying moment, all the joy, all the glamour just vanishes and turns into pure terror. And what followed was just a frantic, desperate search. They checked every fold of her dress, every pocket of her cloak. Her husband went back out, retracing their entire route on foot in the cold. They reported it to the police, to the cab companies. They even put an ad in the newspaper offering a reward, but the necklace was nowhere to be found. When they couldn't find it, they made a fatal decision. Instead of just telling her friend the truth, they decided they had to replace the necklace. This decision was driven entirely by their pride and their fear of being shamed, and honestly, it was their biggest mistake of all. They found an identical replacement necklace, and its price was a staggering 36,000 francs. This was an astronomical sum of money. Monsieur Loisel had an inheritance of 18,000 francs from his father. For the rest, they had to borrow from everyone they could, taking out ruinous high-interest loans, essentially signing their entire future away. And the price of that one decision was 10 years. 10 years of grinding poverty and back-breaking labor. Let's take a look at how those 10 years completely and utterly transformed their lives. Over those 10 years, their entire world changed. They had to fire their maid, they moved out of their apartment and into a tiny attic room. Mathilde, who once dreamed of luxury, learned all the hard work of a household, washing dishes, scrubbing floors, doing laundry. Her husband took on extra work, working evenings and late into the night, just to pay off the debt. A decade of this grueling life completely changed Mathilde. You can see the contrast. Gone was the pretty and charming woman. In her place was a strong, hard, coarse woman. The woman who once complained about her simple life was now a common housewife who haggled over every last penny. After 10 long years, every single debt is finally paid off. Matilda, feeling a strange sense of satisfaction, decides it's time to finally tell her friend the truth. And this is where we get to the story's famous and incredibly ironic twist ending. One day, Matilda runs into Madame Forestier on the street. She goes up to her and tells her the whole story, saying, "I brought you back another one, just like it, and it took us 10 years to pay for it. But it's over now, and I'm glad." You can hear the pride in her voice, a simple joy, believing that her sacrifice was for something noble. Hearing this, Madame Forestier is just stunned. She takes Mathilde's hand and says, "Oh, my poor Mathilde, but mine was a fake." And with that one line, that single sentence, the entire meaning of the last 10 years, the whole story, it just completely flips on its head. Madame Forestier explains that her necklace was costume jewelry, worth 500 francs at the most. Just think about that. The necklace they sacrificed 10 years of their lives for, the one they took on 36,000 francs of debt to replace, was worth practically nothing. It is the story's most bitter, most crushing irony. So what do we take away from this story? Well, it's not just about the dangers of vanity and wanting things you can't have. It's also a powerful lesson about the importance of honesty, right? If Matilda had just told the truth, none of this would have happened. The story shows us how one small choice can completely alter the course of an entire life. And it reminds us that maybe, just maybe, true happiness lies in being content with what we already have. We'll end our explainer with a question from the story itself. What would have happened if she had not lost the necklace? Who knows how strange life is and how full of changes? That question just leaves you thinking, doesn't it? About fate, about our choices, and about sheer random chance. What do you think about it all? We'd love to hear your thoughts.